Jessica.
Hi, Natalie.
I don't think I was ready for that to start, but
You're
I'm
quick.
so excited to have you on the podcast with me today, and gives us a chance to spend even more time together.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So why don't you tell people who you are, what your relationship with Coach Academy is, and yeah, and we'll get started.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm Jessica Derksen, and I am a graduate of the executive program. And now I'm also the head of student enrollment and admissions with Coach Academy, and I facilitate the business startup workshop. So I am just all in with Coach Academy,
All in.
all
That's what we
about it.
like. That's what we like. What's that great line from the movie? Gosh, like you can run, but we'll find you. It's creepy, but
Hey,
Um, so you came through the executive program, and I remember your class well. It was a Saturday morning, so you were getting up quite early for your session. It was 10 a.m. EST. Um, and from there, you became involved in missions. So tell me a little bit about what that journey was like for you, starting with the program and
yeah, I mean, my journey really started with my admissions call. That was a very profound call for me.
Mm,
I was going through a lot in my life personally, and during that call, I I wanna say, like, I had a breakdown, like, I almost had kind of just a verbal spew of my entire life story of what was going on in my life, and so the admissions coach at the time was so kind and generous, and we actually connected on a deeper level, shared her personal phone number with me, like, we really bonded.
oh wow.
Um, she had went through a similar experience as well as what I was going through, and so that was really the very first impression I had of Coach Academy. I didn't know much about the program. I honestly don't even know if I at that point, I asked any questions about the program, like, I was just all in. I love this woman. It was just such a great emotional conversation, but, yeah, so that was my first impression of the company and the program, and it was a really, really profound moment for me, and then going through the program was life-changing on so many levels. It was exactly what I needed at that time in my life, and not even from a standpoint of learning to coach executives, like, for my own personal journey is exactly what I needed, that support, that
Mm,
community, just bonding and learning from like-minded, growth-minded people was just I needed that positivity, that space in my life. And so that was huge for me. And then I remember I was checking my Gmail one day and there was an email that came out that said, Coach Academy is hiring. And I was like, I want this. Like, I don't even know if I read what the role was. And I was like, I'm just gonna apply. Like, I don't even know. I'm gonna put myself out there. And then I know after that, you and I had some really great conversations. And yeah, like the rest was history, I guess to say.
right. And I'm so happy that and I think it's a little bit, I want to say cosmic or energetic, the way that people come together in groups and come to a program through an admissions coach. I mean, you are I'm going to say the second or third point of contact because first there's the website or there's the advertising or there's whatever somebody interacts with to get them to you. So that could
Yeah.
be one or two, transactions apart, a form that you fill out or a referral that you get. And I really see the conversation as the first feeling of what is Coach Academy. And your admissions coach at the time, Sue, who was just incredible and had this really um soft and compassionate way about her. I think that's what most people really connected to. So I wonder from the client perspective now and since, because you've had so many conversations with
Yeah.
people, what do you think people are looking for from that conversation? Apart from, yeah, information, but what else?
Yeah, I think I just got goosebumps. They want connection and they wanna feel heard. Like, I think I spend majority of those conversations really learning about the person. They are sharing a lot of deep stuff. Like, essentially what I did with Sue, people are doing that with me. I've spent time crying in these calls with the potential student, with, the person I'm having the conversation with. We've cried together, we've laughed together. They are sharing really deep parts of their life. And I
Mm,
think she brings that out in people. So when they think, I want to do this, I want to go on this experience, on this journey, they think about everything they've gone through in their life to bring them to this point. And so when we start the conversation, and it's like, what brought you to this call today? They love to open up and share. And I really, really think that's what they want. They want that connection and they want to feel like they were heard.
mm. Yeah, and we tell everybody on the admissions team, and you tell everybody that the coach approach to that conversation is the most direct path to connection, right? The asking of questions and really leaning into somebody's experience. I feel like the skills that you're learning as a coach are really brought to the table in those conversations. They're how how you open up the dialogue to connect so quickly with people.
Absolutely, and the listening and then asking the right questions that really land for what they're speaking into. Because you're
Mm,
right, they want information or they think they want information, but once that conversation starts, there's so much more they want beyond that. They wanna know what the experience is gonna be like. They wanna know what they're really going to walk away with besides a certification, and it really comes from that conversation of, well, what is it they would love to experience? What is it they want in their life? What's their vision for coaching? And something really interesting that comes up a lot is they don't even necessarily know if they wanna coach people after. Like, I often get asked, like, "Can I take this program if I don't plan to coach people afterwards? Can I use this for my own growth?" Like, yes, and we say it all the time, right? The first life to change is your own, because it's true. And that was my experience, my journey, and yeah, it's just interesting how many people are like, I think I need this for me, and then we'll see what comes out of it."
oh, I can't tell you because you have that on the admission side, and then I hear it, and so do the other facilitators. Every time we hear people leave the program, that's
Mhm.
the first thing they point to. It's this unexpected personal growth that was a bonus, but also sometimes the center of the experience. And that professional endeavor they had coming in was kind of taking a back seat, although certainly many people on to become either certified professional independent coaches or they work in organizations and use the coaching skills. Maybe they're in a role that has coaching, but there's this personal development piece that if I were to put my finger on it, what I hear people say is changed relationships. People can't get over how their misconception of listening and
Mm,
how what it means to truly listen and the impact that has on others. Um, and I think the other one would be um, just this common comment that's made, which is that people notice a change in them
yeah.
and like say it, right? Like colleagues at work or family members or anybody that knew the person before, they're noticing a change, a positive change in the individual.
Yeah. Can I share a bit about my story?
Of course, yes.
Well,
That's
I
why
don't
you're
I
here.
well, just kind of to add to that what we're talking about. So when I joined the program, my husband was recently diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer, and he was diagnosed in October, and I think I met Sue in January. So it's still pretty new. We didn't really know what was going on. And throughout the course of the program, his health obviously got worse and worse. And and as I was going through that and taking this course, so many people would say to me, like, how are you doing this? Like, you're working, you're taking this course, you're taking care of your husband. Like, how are you? I was like, if it wasn't for this program and this community of people, I don't think I would have the strength, the resilience that I have right now. I don't think I would have the support. Like, am still close with my cohort. Like, they still reach out to me. We still talk. They all knew what was going on, and we talked about that, and they support me. And there's a few of them I still connect with about that. And so, if I didn't have that, I don't know if I would have shown up the way that I'm proud to say I showed up during that journey. And then afterwards, and I got to be a team member with Coach Academy and everything. I mean, from you, Natalie, the support from you, and obviously, unfortunately, my husband passed away in October, but even knowing the support from you and our team and everyone was there and come when you're ready and like that is just that coaching mindset, that support that I got. And that's what our whole team does for everybody, not just within our team, but for our students, for our community. And so many people talk about that. Just like they feel like they can move through life with more not confidence, but with just they show up in a way they wanna show up, right? They're not just sleeping through the day or they're not going to bad habits, like, they feel that they have the tools to be able to show up in a way that feels right for them.
Yeah, Ellie Goulding has a song, I don't know what it's called, but she talks about standing with an army and the feeling of that. Your journey was like, um, I mean, I remember I didn't know. I was your facilitator, right? And I didn't know because the thing about these courses is that the students get to know each other on a level that is far beyond the facilitator's, privilege because we don't you and I'm not coaching you. I'm not hearing your stories. So the very nature of being coached and coaching throughout the program, that is the secret to these beautiful relationships that are formed and that last so long. I mean, they're lifetime relationships. That's what people call them. And
Mhm.
that's this beautiful sort of byproduct of the platform that we wanted to create. We wanted to create community. We wanted to create powerful courses, but never could I imagine those connections forming independently of the program, even of the platform, and people becoming lifelong friends. That was just beyond expectations. So I'm facilitating, and I didn't know your story until I can't remember when. Maybe it was when you applied for the admissions. That was when the first I heard it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember thinking, "Oh my goodness, like that you went through the program and you didn't just go through the program, you were getting up at 7 a.m. You were living what some people might call their worst nightmare. And I remember there were times where I saw your face was like pale or, like you were definitely preoccupied by something that was super serious going on behind you. And you still showed up. And I see people do that a lot. I see people coming to this space even when their lives are falling apart outside because they often call it their refuge. It's like the one place they can show up and just be without having to be something for someone else.
Mhm. That's exactly it. You and you feel supported in that.
Mm,
Be yourself. You get to just show up as you, and you also get to connect. Like there's that connection piece of it. So I loved being those 2 hours on Saturday was like 2 hours of my time because that year I didn't get a lot of my time, right?
right.
I'm a caretaker and your life goes in a different direction. So I got 2 hours that were for me with a commute like with surrounded with a group of people who think like not think like me, but think of growth. We want more. We want to help people. We want to do this in our lives. Like it was such a good positive experience for me to have that during those months for sure.
Mm. Yeah, and that's the level of community that couldn't predict, but absolutely love. And when you think about the people that come and I mean, so we used to say, "How do we bottle this? How do we show people the experience?" And then it was the podcast was the idea for that, right? So talking about it, these conversations help people understand and sort of give them a glimpse of what's possible,
Mhm.
especially in this world of AI where AI is so like every day there's some new development. And I think my entrepreneurial brain says, "Oh, huge opportunity for AI in coaching and many collaborations between AI and coaching." And I also fear for people's loneliness. I fear for isolation that takes place when you isolate at home with your chat, friend.
Yeah.
or your chat GPT, confidant, whatever you want to call it. And there's this risk to higher degrees of loneliness and isolation. So community today is more important than ever. And we are really conscious of that in our community and create live opportunities to join together and chat, even on a virtual platform. Many people say are surprised at how quickly they can connect with others through the virtual platform. Like, so what's your experience of that in your call? Because a lot of your admissions calls are done virtually, like you see on video.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a good point to when I connect with them, because sometimes they do bring that up. Is there anything in person? And well, we're a global community now, so it's all online but look how we're connecting. Look how we've done this. And in fact, I last week a woman joined the call and she's like, "Oh, you're a real person." She was so excited. She's like, "I'm so happy to connect with someone who's not AI." And I was like, "Yes, I'm happy to be a real person too." But I think was a little shocking even when I started how fast you do connect online. Because I think after COVID, I think people wanted to be in person and that kind of connection again, but it almost feels like you are in person. Like you're in this intimate group every 2 hours, with the same people, and I think that's purposely why we keep them intimate, right? So that you really feel that connection. Like, if you could imagine a room of, like, I don't know, 20, 30, 100 people, that would be a lot harder to feel that connection online. But because our group sizes are such a perfect amount of people, that it creates that connections a lot easier to create, and it feels real. Like, I feel very connected to you. I've never actually met you in person. I don't even know what the bottom half of your body looks like.
Oh my goodness. I do have
I've
legs. I
known
do
you
have legs.
forever.
Yeah. We are meeting in October though.
I know. I'm so excited to see everybody's legs.
Right, right. Well, that's what I said to a client the other day. I met him in Montreal. We went for a walk and I was like, "Oh, you have legs. I have proof you have legs."
Yeah, you're a real person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think and I was actually talking to someone in an admissions call the other day about that, about, being in person. I said, "I think it would surprise you how fast you can connect." And if I used to do a lot of coaching before I was part of the team, and I think it could be a lonely profession. If
Mm.
you are coaching people all day long and you don't have your own support, systems of support or community or people to connect with, throw ideas off of, like, you're not going to talk to our community the same way you're gonna talk to your clients, right? So it's so nice to have that community, and I don't even think of the online piece as a deterrent at all because you really connect quick, especially with coaches. We're all warm and we know what questions to ask and how to talk to each other in such a nice way.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better team to be on than a team full of coaches for sure, because there's a lot of space created for everyone. But the thing that you just mentioned, I think actually doesn't get spoken about enough. And that's the loneliness of the profession of the solopreneur who's trying to build a business. So you're doing two things when you become a coach. You're learning a new practice and skill, and you're building a business. You're selling yourself, you're branding yourself, and the connection that you get when you are coaching is powerful. And that, in and of itself, requires a community around it because you want to share that experience with people who are working towards the same thing you are. Like, I know as an entrepreneur, I want to speak to other entrepreneurs. I have
Mhm.
huge connection I mean, every day I talk to a lot of people. So it's not a lack of speaking to people. It's this a desire to connect to like-minded people who are experiencing what you're experiencing, that you can share the highs, you can share the lows, you can brainstorm and just create different ideas. You can also collaborate on projects. You can network and refer, and there's just so much activity in the community of coaches that is yeah, what a huge part of the experience that I actually didn't have when I started as a
Yeah.
coach, because I don't want to call myself prehistoric or anything, but it was before these like online communities were really popular. And I mean, I know for myself as well as for the facilitators that are on the team, we all had this sense of isolation. before coming together. And I remember when I was hiring, first Kate, then Kelly, then Sherry, I would say to them, "What are you seeking from this, like, this opportunity?" And they would say, "A team."
Yeah.
They want to be part of something, and it's lonely working from home. They still wanted to have their independent consulting practices, but it's nice to come back to a team where you can talk about what it is you're doing and that is separate from the coaching that you're doing, right?
Yeah. The first coach certification I did, it was all online, like webinar style. So it was
Yeah.
pre-recorded training that you were just given. There was no human interaction. And I think maybe there was like one call a month or something like that. But it was a very different experience than what I got through Coach Academy. And, you're live with people, like with other humans, talking, interacting, learning, connecting. And for me, like that connection part, and I think for many people, many of our students too, it's that connection.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't think we can even overplay that because even as you said in your calls, um, when you're talking to people and they are seeking information for sure, but like Maya Angelou says, you don't remember people for what they say, you remember for what they make you feel. And I have to say that when I was doing the calls that you're doing now as admissions coach, I was doing those calls early on in the company's life. And I would take those calls from everywhere. Like I would be in a field. I remember in my car, in my office at home, on a walk. Like I was always, I didn't want to miss an opportunity to speak to somebody. And I have found those conversations were the most incredible, like eye-opening conversations because people come to coaching with a story. They
Mhm.
always come with a story of wanting to change, like help others change or share their wisdom or, pass on to the next generation what they've learned in their career and lifetime. There's always a powerful story there that you get to discover as an admissions coach yeah, I don't know. What would you say about those conversations?
Yeah, I love those conversations. I love meeting people and they all do. Like I really do start our calls with, so tell me a bit about yourself. What brought you to this call today? And sometimes they'll go way back years and years ago.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this part of my life that led to this part and I overcame this and now I want to help people do the same. Right? Yeah, most of my calls I know end up hanging up thinking, "Wow, that person has lived a life," or "Wow," like, I'm so grateful they felt comfortable to be vulnerable with me and share that part of their journey with me. Often during the conversation, they're like, "I'm so sorry, I'm probably sharing too much." I'm like, "No, that's what we're here for." Like, I love to get to know them on a real level. It's a building like, truly making that connection and knowing what's important to them. And when they share a bit of that story and like tell me how does that bring them to coaching and what they want to do with that certification or just from their knowledge, like from their experience and how they want to help people. Like for me, that's so profound. It's like, wow, like you have such a great vision. You have something you really want because it's meaningful. They have a deep why, right? This have
Mm,
lived through this and now I want to help other people through that.
yeah. And what do you think is the moment of like I remember when I was doing the calls, there would always be a moment where I knew in someone's voice that there was a shift to from going from like calling to sort of buy into something
Mhm.
and that shift to relationship building and and connection. What do you think is that shift for you? Like what are you hearing in the person's voice?
So a lot of our calls are video now. So I actually get to see the shift
Right.
in their
Oh, right. That's
facial
right.
expressions. And I ask them like, can I
Now in present day, not in like the the
not
dinosaur
in
period of life.
prehistoric days.
Right.
Yeah, so I honestly, like, I love often you hear their story and this is what I want or this is the struggle, and then we kind of talk about experience of the program. They love to hear about my experience or other people's experience in the program and what shifts they had or what changes they had. And speaking into the program, not, dates and times or anything like that, but like, what are you going to really experience in that program? How can you really learn to speak with people and help them? And that's where that shift is like, and you can see it in their body language. It's like, oh, that's like what I want to do. That's what I love to see. Like, I'm so resonating with this. And I'll make that observation. Like, can I make that observation with you? Like, I noticed you were talking about this. And when you started talking about the vision part, like you really lit up. Like when you were talking about how you want to help people, and oftentimes, we'll talk about that community and getting feedback and mentorship. Yeah, there's like this excitement of like, oh yeah, and then I can, get support in this part of my business or doing this with people, and it's exciting for them when other people can notice that in them, right? They're like, when someone says, "Hey, when you talk about this, like you just lit up." Like your whole body language changed, your facial expression changed from going the story into the vision part was so exciting.
Mm, yeah, I miss those calls. I just realized I missed those calls.
They are.
And yeah, yeah, there's such a great part of the work. And you mentioned, you went through the program and you became an admissions coach. And I think we need to mention that all of our admissions coaches have gone through our programs. It's a requirement to be able to speak to others about the program. And what do you think that offers the caller? Because I know that there's many places that don't have that policy, like many other schools that don't have that policy. So what is yeah, what do you think that extra little thing is?
That I think the number one benefit of it is we can really speak into the experience, and not like course content, material experience that you can read in the overview, but we can really speak into the facilitators, what that mentorship experience was like. Like for me, those one-on-one mentor sessions were probably one of my favorite parts of the whole process. Like they were so valuable, really getting to know. I chose to do a different mentor for each session. So for like I just thought it was so cool to see their expertise and their experience and how they kind of coach and come out. So being able to really speak into who our facilitators are, knowing them, experiencing what they're like, and then what kind of connection you get in the program. What do you really learn? What do you walk away with? How do you feel at the end of a class? How do you feel going through coaching exchanges and coaching other people? What is that like? And so I can, speak into the feedback experience part of it, which I don't think a lot of people can do that. So all of it, I think the number one thing is like we've lived it. We've gone through this journey. Yeah, some of the material has changed since I've done it, which is great because we're always updating stuff. But how you're gonna feel, what you're gonna walk away with, the personal growth and develop. Like, my relationship with my family is so different, and my friends and my stepsons, like, because I show up in such a different way than prior to the program, right? And so even being able to speak into that experience, like, it didn't just help me professionally, but how has it really helped me in my life beyond that?
No, that's so cool. Like yeah, it's true. Like it's even beyond what I what I was, anticipating because you get to speak from the vulnerability of being a student too, which I see in adult learners every day. There's a huge amount of vulnerability to come to a new endeavor. Some people haven't been in a course for over a couple decades, like there's people here who learning isn't a position they've been in a long time because they've been building their career, climbing the corporate ladder, or busy parenting and being other things in life. And learning is, it's a discomfort zone for many. And
Yeah.
so you get to talk from the experience of, what's it like to receive feedback? That's not an easy thing for a lot of people. But I think, you know, one of the things that I just adore about our entire team is the effort that we make from onboarding to graduation to make the experience safe for
Yeah.
everyone. The padding that we put in for self-care and for nurturing the discomfort and the vulnerability that comes up, and the conversation and the way that the learning leaders hold space for the students. I think that is a big piece that we don't talk about very often, but is very important when we talk about the population that we serve.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
let's speak into that actually for a second, because one of the biggest questions I think we get often is, "Can I fast track this? Can I do it in a weekend?
Mhm,
Can I do it in a
mhm.
week, a month, 5 months, 7 months? I'm a busy, busy executive." So there's always this, like, kind of time perception of, "Can I fast track?" And I'd love to hear, obviously, you've done a lot of work around adult learning and why your courses or programs are the way they are. So maybe you could even speak into that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the number one thing is that coaching inherently is overtime.
Mhm.
So the reason for that is because the support that you get coaching others. So as a coachee, for example, the support that you're getting from a coach isn't a one transaction conversation. It's 6 to 8 months on average because people, first of all, need repetition to
Mm,
let things sink in. We need to experience and have a relatable experience that we can speak about and step into and, like, get physical with even. And then there's obviously the trick of time. Over time we have perspective. What seemed really urgent and important in session one has a way of shifting its colors over time.
yeah,
And coaching is built in for that. So when people say intensive program, how can you be that for someone else and do it in a weekend? Like,
yeah,
it just makes no sense. And a funny story, when before COVID, we used to do 3 days on site and 15 weeks online to support the learning. So these 3 days were 9 to 5 full days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I kid you not, by Sunday, people were literally crawling out cross-eyed.
yeah.
It was so much information. They would go home on Friday night, come back, saying, I dreamt of coaching all night. Like, it was a deeply immersive, but too immersive, I think. Because when we switched to online, we made that 15, well, call it 16 weeks into 26 weeks online somehow.
Mhm.
I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, that's right. And so we took that, and actually, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to us.
Yeah.
COVID was, I know, a terrible time for many people, but for our pivot as a business, it was critical to the impact we're having today.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be positioned to have the same impact otherwise, because people take time to ease in. And I see it every day. People come in, there's this, and they express the discomfort of being in the learner position. And then week two, start to warm up. Week three, they're getting, looser. By week five, it's a different feeling. It's a different cohort. People are like what's the word? Synergetically, I don't know what it is, come together. And it's always amazing. Like, it leaves me speechless, honestly. Yeah, the connection and the collaboration, but the energy, and it takes time. So intensive in my world as a coach, from what I've learned and been through, I don't think that that should be a thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to marinate, right? You're learning something new. You need to sit with it, really understand the concept, practice it. I think practicing and coaching is obviously huge. We actually have a woman in our community, and she did a weekend intensive, and it was so much. And she said, as an adult learner, this is way too hard. She quit, like she stopped going after I think she did a day and a half. And she said, this wasn't for me. And so when we met, there were so many questions around the process and the timing and had a big conversation around that, and I think it's really powerful to really learn the concept, learn the idea, sit with it, practice it, really understand it, dive deeper into it, have those conversations, and then come back, learn something new, right? And kind of
Yeah,
repeat mentorship.
yeah. And what you just mentioned about that person's experience, that is actually what the program being spread over time is also meant to control for emotional reactive learning. So many people either buckle up and freeze in situations where they're learning something new, and that information can't possibly enter the way it would after a couple of days of simmering, as you said, or marinating. And then coming back to class a week later and having an opportunity to have processed, maybe to have tried some exercises around it, and then to have questions ready for a facilitator to talk the group through, and also to hear their peers talking about the same things, the same
Mhm.
challenges, the same feelings of, challenge, like insecurity, or like just processing this work. And that inherently is what makes it so powerful. And you can't have that in a weekend because there's not enough time to process the emotion of it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of unlearning we're doing, and I know we've talked about this a lot, but there's you're unlearning while learning all at the same time, and so you can't do that in a, 72-hour period.
Mm. So what other questions do you get often on the calls?
I think, we get a lot around the course. I mean, what is the difference between the programs? So, especially I find between life and wellness and leadership, what are the main differences between those programs? Why should we choose one over the other? That's a very common question. Um, Timing, a lot of questions around the International Coaches Federation. So, when I'm done this program, then what? What's next? How do I get that ICF? How fast can I get it? Where can I get my coaching hours in? That is one of the number one questions. How do I get my coaching hours in? How do I
Hmm. And we have such a great community for that. The Coach Exchange is one of the most valuable components of our community,
Yeah.
in that it's unlimited and you get coached. That's the thing about these programs, right? You're getting coached from beginning to end. And that is worth the price of entry, just that alone.
Yeah.
Being coached is the transformative part of, like, the first step to change is yours. It's through that opportunity. And everybody who comes into our program must be coached a minimum of 10 hours, so that they can experience coaching, but
Mhm,
also they get to experience the coaching through a learner position of becoming a coach, and sort of hearing, oh, what do I like about this approach? What do I not like? How does it feel to be in the coachee chair? It's
mhm.
a very important component, I think, of the 360 learning experience that we provide. And yeah, and it's that's where actually those relationships are formed too, those really powerful connections.
And the cool thing about that is you can coach people who are not in your program. So taking a totally different program, maybe they were already graduated or maybe they're in a different month than you, they're ahead, they're behind. So you really get to coach people in all different parts of that journey and get coached from people in all different parts. And that's where that feedback comes in. Like I remember everyone who was either done or way ahead of me in a program and always say, okay, can you give me feedback? Like I'd love to hear some feedback. And then you also start to learn who you are as a coach, right? So you're taught this model, you're taught a lot around coaching, but you're still an individual. So what are you gonna bring to that conversation? And that's a really great place to practice in that space. So those exchanges I think are unbelievable. They're great.
Well, and something that you have brought up in our conversations, Jessica, is, your experience previous to Coach Academy. You'd been in some coach training that offered scripts and offered, sort of cookie cutter ways of coaching. And that's one thing that we absolutely don't do. And when I just heard you say, you bring yourself individual learning experience, it truly is an opportunity to create a signature as a coach, to have your own style. Yes, we give you frameworks and tools, but those are to support your style of coaching. And everybody is unique in that
Mhm.
and what they bring, their previous experience, their personalities, their, specialty or niche. And so it's an opportunity to really build uh, like a curated practice, right? And with the confidence that the tools and the strategies and the frameworks, but also the research brings to you,
Yeah.
knowing that this work has been, built on the foundation of empirical research and grounded evidence, that, is really, I think, a big part of who we are as a community.
Yeah, and that cookie I always call it that cookie cutter coaching style does
Mhm.
not work, and I remember walking away from that program and starting this coaching business and realizing I'm not landing with my clients, like, I'm just speaking about what I think I should be speaking about, which is missing the mark with them, right? Which is not helpful, and so going through this experience with Coach Academy and really understanding, like, you meet your clients where they're at. Right? It's about them. It is not about us. So I was showing up in a conversation thinking, well, I have to talk about this because this is what the script says versus what's really going on with them. And I think that is so powerful. And learning that was incredible. And I think, and even having conversations in the admissions calls about that is, no, we definitely don't give you a script, right? Like you are how to coach people, meet them where they're at, and people love that. Like, when they really understand, they're gonna be able to hold these conversations in this space that lights them up, and like, "Oh, I love to hear this." I always hear that, "I love to hear this."
Yeah. Well, and I see it every day in the programs where people are at first, our instinct is to try and have, tools around us just when we start coaching, like a list of questions over here and the framework over there, and and whatever else you have on top of your screen. I know a lot of people have all these kinds of reminders, but what those do is distract you from listening to the person in front of you, and it really it creates a disconnect actually. And so what they learn is to start to slowly push all that aside to tap into the skills they're learning, which is how to be present, how to be mindful, how to deeply listen, how to inquire and lead with curiosity, picking up on language and all the things, the cognitive um well, ways that we sabotage ourselves in language. So we're listening for all of those things, and that's what these coaches are taught to do, and that becomes the signature. That becomes their unique approach to coaching.
Mhm, and that's the beauty of having that community where we can exchange and practice with each other. Because when you start, I promise you, every single person is using those, like, questions or they have this
Yes.
right? They have this
Yeah.
model, and it's,
Yeah.
like, robotic almost at first, so it's so, like, beautiful to have a safe space to practice that in until you really get to know yourself and learn it for yourself and your flow and your individuality, so another thing now that you said that is a question we often get asked is around niches, so you kinda touched on, having a niche.
Mhm.
Oft people will ask a lot, "Do I need to have a very clear niche before I start the program?" And I just
Mm.
want no. And in fact, because I now facilitate the business startup workshop, there's been multiple people in those programs who start with a clear niche and they think these are the people that I wanna coach, and then by the end, they're like, "Oh, I have a totally different vision, and I've created this whole plan around a different group of people I'd love to coach."
Oh yeah, such a good question. So here's like a story of my journey as an entrepreneur. I We started Coach Academy with a niche. It was mining and heavy industry,
Right.
and we recognized very quickly in that work that coaching was a human skill not specific to that niche, and therefore what we did was we made a real effort to express our expertise in coaching as a skill, and branch away from the niche that we were in, which was heavy industry and mining, to open it up to the world of all kinds of people and professions and geographic locations. And so when it comes to niche, I absolutely agree that specialization, especially when you have a previous, career behind you that makes you a subject matter expert in something, it's really great to be able to specialize in that. I also know through experience that when you are very clear about what you believe in around coaching and who you want to serve, those people will come to you. And they may not look exactly as you thought they would. People
Mhm.
who come to you because they connect with your why, right? They connect with your mission, your vision, your impact, and what you want in the world. Those so my 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 thoughts on niche is that be clear on what impact you want to make. Be clear on what that means to you and what drives that impact.
Mhm.
And the rest will follow. And yes, if you do have a specialization, that you can certainly create an opening for that. But still, I think that when you're clear, people will come to you from all walks of life that you never really expected
Mhm.
because they can resonate with what you're saying. And that's the most important thing. I mean, what did Simon Sinek say? He says people buy why you do what you do, not what you do. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think when people can see your passion, and that's the beauty of coaching is people are that wanna work with you, they're working with you because they feel a connection to you. They feel there's a relationship. They feel like you've done something in your life that they relate to. Like, I always
Hmm.
find that coaching, and that's why it's such a beautiful, industry because I don't know. I'm, like, under the impression I truly believe everyone needs a coach, and the more coaches is the better because we're all gonna relate to people differently, and we're all gonna have a different story, and we're gonna connect to people in different ways, so we're gonna wanna work with someone different, which is a really cool thing about our profession.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I obviously agree with you. I believe everybody deserves a coach, but I also believe everybody deserves a program like this where they get to learn potentially for the first time what it means to truly listen and to be listened to. That's one of the things that I think stands out the most from people who give feedback. They get to experience the power of metaphor, which a lot of
Mhm.
people don't even realize. And they really just get to increase their awareness so much. It's almost like you're learning something that's sort of right there in front of you, but you never really saw it before. You know, the power of the reticular activating system or the stairway of consciousness or all these great, immunity to change model. Like there's so many strategies that we offer that are right within reach, but people are not aware. They're not, I don't know, they're not accessing that knowledge because they don't even know to access it.
Yeah.
So they come to the program and the very first surprise is, oh, is that what coaching is?
Yeah,
Right? Where that's like like 9 on 10 people are like, I did not know that's what coaching
yeah,
is.
yeah. Metaphors, that was probably one of my favorite classes with and now I always notice myself, like, how many metaphors are used throughout the day by myself, by so many people. I'm like, "Okay, let's talk more about that because it's so
Oh yeah.
interesting." Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite classes for sure. I love that topic. It was so
That's
interesting.
my favorite one to research. It is
Yeah,
so fascinating how metaphors impact us, how we communicate in metaphor, number one, and how often we use metaphor in language, but also that metaphors reveal worldviews. And that
yeah,
when we pay attention to someone's metaphors, we're actually catching a glimpse of their internal dialogue, which is wow. Like this is like what we all want to know about when we're talking about communication, connection, and collaboration, and also diversity, equity, inclusion. I mean, it's such a powerful place to begin.
yeah.
And yet we don't talk about that metaphors and language and how powerful they are. At least not in any conversations I had, not in university, not at Harvard. No one ever brought up metaphors, not, at McGill, and certainly not in my job training before. So there's something there that needs, it deserves more exploration. And I'm so happy that we spend, a good amount of time talking about the power of metaphor because it's really transformative for people.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So we as we come to the end, I don't even know, but I'm sure we've been on. I love just chatting with you, Jessica. I could sit here all day, but we do have to get back to work. So,
There's that.
what what's the one thing that you want to convey to somebody who's looking for coach certification right now and who's listening?
I think the one thing is I think these programs are for everyone. They're not
Mhm.
just people who want to start a business in coaching. They are such a powerful tool for communication, for building relationships, for leadership style, like both personally and professionally, personal growth, professional growth. Like whether or not you want to start coaching someone as like have clients, these programs are still for you. If you're like, no, I don't want to use the certification, but you want growth, you want more in your life, these programs, I truly, truly believe that, like, in my soul, in my heart, they are life-changing, and so many people I speak to like, that's the cool thing about the admissions. It's not like we just meet you and then, we're done, we never speak to you again. Like, I all so many of the students that I've talked to, they come back, they email me, update progress reports and what they've, like,
Oh,
noticed,
that's so fun.
their own change and growth, and that is so exciting to me because I know my story and what happened with me and the people in my cohort, but hearing that that's happening to hundreds of other people consistently is so beautiful and powerful. So I just truly believe these programs are for everyone and anyone who just wants to experience growth in so many different areas of life.
Yeah, we truly have a magic formula happening here. I count my blessings every day, knock on wood. Um, and I know that, like, as a team, we sit in a very privileged position to be the receivers of such, you know, private and personal journeys that people have. I mean, your journey was the most personal you could possibly experience in your life, this huge loss, but also this huge gain in the process. And I mean, I've said it before, like, I've witnessed you through your grief and the last year, and it's so admirable how you show up to yourself and to the team and to everybody every day. And sometimes not a great day, but of course you're human. Like, that's what
Mm.
you have to be safe, feel safe to be able to express, and I'm just grateful that you feel safe here to do that. And it's been such a, I don't know, it's just been such a nice experience to build this team with you, because it is your little niche team. The admissions team is becoming such a gem, and it's so fun to see you develop your team, and yeah, and I'm excited for all the people that you will all bring into our community to make it even better than it is.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Natalie. This was so good, and I mean, we have the best mentor we could ask for, so it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for your time. And, if people want to reach out to you, they know how to get to you, Jessica at coachacademy.com, and the team. And we're on LinkedIn as well. And yeah, info sessions also are happening monthly. So if you haven't heard yet, we are doing live info sessions monthly, I think. Is that right,
Yep.
Jessica?
Ask
Yeah.
me, team, ask your questions. It's a great hour to spend with us.
Yeah. So reach out and get some information on that if you are interested in attending. But for now, thank you.
Bye.